and panelists, make sure that you're hitting the all attendees and panelists in the chat box. We also want to let you know that you are welcome to ask questions. And again, just that reminder, there's no secret chats. So we do want to move on now to our moderator, or moderators in this case. Sue Gilman and Barbara Lanning are going to be interviewing Angela Melvin, Kay Hudson, and Rachel Deming about the charter amendments and the information that you need to know in order to make an informed voting decision. Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, and I just want to add one thing to what Sandy said, which is unlike a normal, typical Hot Topics, we will be addressing questions as we go today because presumably people will have questions about the specific amendments. So instead of saving them all for the end, we'll address them as we go, just to give you a heads up on that so you don't save writing your question until the very end. The Orange County Charter Amendments are 3 questions placed on the ballot by the Charter Review Commission. The commission meets every 4 years and reviews Orange County's charter, and it's made up of 15 citizens appointed by the county mayor and the commissioners. And before we proceed to the amendments, the questions themselves, I do want to take a minute to introduce our panelists and to let them tell us a little bit about themselves. So Rachel Deming, will you start, please?
Sure, thank you. I guess I'm a later add-on due to my work with Gloria and Kay on Charter Amendments 1 and 2 for the League. I am a lawyer and I'm the director of the Environmental and Earth Law Clinic at Barry University. My clinic and my clinic students represent the League, both Orange County and the League statewide, on natural resource issues. And we give presentations every term on the work that we're doing on different issues for the League that they're interested in. And we worked on both Split Oak and the first charter amendment on behalf of the League.
Thank you. Thank you. And Kay, will you go next, please?
Sure. I'm Kay Hudson. I've been a member of the League since 2013. I've been a member of the membership committee, and I'm the chair of the Natural Resources Committee. I'm self-employed, and at heart, I've been involved with construction industry all my adult life, and my heart is in conserving what we have left of Orange County. I am a native of Orange County.
Oh, thank you, Kay. And Angela, I asked you to go last because you are also a member of the Orange County Charter Commission. Will you talk to us about that a little bit, please? And yourself.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Angela Melvin. I'm been a member of the League for about 3 years, and I'm currently the 2nd vice president. This past year, I was appointed to the Charter Review Commission by the League through the, actually Mayor Demings was the one who appointed me. And it's a really amazing and interesting process. Every 4 years, we do take a look at the charter, and anyone of the member of the public and committee members can introduce a topic, something that they would like looked into, possibly changed. And the committee decides whether they want to pursue that or not. And if a topic is pursued, like these 3 amendments we're going to be talking about, they go into a subcommittee where the public, subject matter experts, and a lot of data is evaluated and discussed. And just so you know, some of these amendments had 13, 14 different meetings. So a lot of time and effort is put into this to hear all sides of an issue. And if it is decided that the topic is ready to go to an amendment phase, then the committee and general counsel work on that and put that together and present it to the entire committee, all 15 members and the public. and it's voted on. So these 3 amendments were out of about 10 different topics that were looked at and put into different subcommittees. And these were the ones that the committee decided the people of Orange County need to vote on these to decide whether we change our amendment or not.
Thank you, Angela. I really appreciate that. Moving right along. Let's see, turning the page. Here we go. Okay, so just so everyone knows, the text that you see here under CRC Amendment Question 1, as well as 2 and 3, this is exactly the text that appears on the ballot. So what you're looking at here is what you will see when you look at your ballot and make your decision about voting. Prohibiting Charter Amendment Question 1. Prohibiting pollution of the Wekiva River, Econlocache River, and all other waters of Orange County. Amending the charter by providing charter protections for the natural rights of the Wekiva and Econlocache Rivers and all other waters of Orange County by prohibiting pollution, providing a definition of waters, providing a private right of action and standing for citizens of Orange County to enforce these protections against governmental agencies, non-natural persons, or corporate entities that intentionally or negligently pollute the waters, and providing for severability and exceptions. So you should vote yes if you believe the citizens of Orange County have the right to clean water, you believe rivers and lakes have the right to exist and flow and maintain a healthy ecosystems, and citizens should have the right to sue to protect those waters, and you believe it is less expensive to maintain clean rivers and lakes rather than clean them up after pollution. You should vote no if you believe this charter amendment will negatively impact the local economy and slow down growth, or you believe that Orange County could be sued for polluting waters and such suits could be costly for the county. As far as supporting organizations, the Orange County League, as well as Speak Up Wekiva, and we don't know of any organizations that oppose this amendment. And Angela, if you can answer a few questions about this that we have formulated in advance, and then if participants have any additional questions, just please put them in the chat. Angela, bottom line, what does this amendment mean?
Basically, everyone deserves the right to clean water, and actually the water has the right to being clean itself. And this takes things a little farther than most laws on the books already that say, that don't give people any voice in that. This amendment would allow citizens on behalf of themselves and on behalf of the body of water to actually do something, whether it's sue for a monetary amount or sue to get the body of water back to its original state before the pollution occurred.
Okay, and it would give citizens the right to sue whom?
Whoever polluted the water.
I see, okay, thank you. And some people call this a rights of nature amendment. What does that phrase refer to exactly?
Well, rights of nature is actually it's a global initiative which states that all of our ecosystems, water, trees, mountains, everything have rights just as human beings have rights. And it's about balancing what is good for people versus what is good for the ecosystem. It's trying to stop creating nature as just our property to do with as we want, and actually is trying to give a voice back to the environment, to the ecosystem.
I see. And also, by the way, Rachel, please feel free to contribute or jump in at any point during this conversation. And one of the questions here was, what right does this give citizens, which I think we covered a little bit before, but Rachel, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, what we had in dealing with pollution back in the 70s were some initial laws that took care of controlling pollution that we could identify at the time. And we've done a lot under those laws, the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. but those laws have relied primarily on government institutions to initiate actions against polluters. And in addition, there haven't been an equal recognition of the rights to sustainability of ecosystems as there have been for exploitation of those ecosystems. And so that's where the rights of nature movement has come up. It started as, a primary supporter of it from the beginning was actually Barry University and the Center for Earth Jurisprudence. So it's trying to take environmental protection to the next level, because what we have now is not working, and we need to come up with some new solutions to make a sustainable environment and ecosystem going forward.
Thank you. Where else is this in place? Some places that have been noted are New Zealand, Ecuador, and many other communities in the United States, but excuse me, can you point to any other communities specifically where something like this has been implemented and it's been successful? Angela or Rachel on that one?
Well, in the United States, Pittsburgh had a rights of nature item, and Toledo, Ohio. I do believe that the one in Toledo, Ohio was invalidated, and the one in Pittsburgh is kind of, there's some fighting going on about it. Ours is the first county-wide initiative in the United States. But actually, I went to the Rights of Nature website, and there are actions which they consider rights of nature actions taking place all over the globe. It's really quite fascinating. I don't think Antarctica has anything yet, but pretty much every other continent does. So it's something that people are seeing as a way to help take this just out of the government's hands, like Rachel said, and put it in the citizens' hands, in the people who live in these communities, because maybe it's more important to them than a government entity.
I think it's also has to do with the concept that you have broader ranges of accountability beyond just the government coming in and telling you what to do, that you need to be part of the community, and the community needs to be able to make the people living within the community responsible for the whole the community itself. It's not just relying on government, especially in these days of shrinking resources. And in Florida, we have the additional question of the state preempting so many actions on the local level that makes it hard for localities to take actions like these. So we're trying to get these rights established on all organizational levels that we can, but it really is a global movement. The US is way behind in this in terms of recognizing what we need for a sustainable future.
Maybe if we're the first county tackling this, other counties will use us as a case study and follow suit. Do you think?
I think that could well be, and there is an effort to do this in many other communities within Florida, as well as, yes, there is interest throughout the United States. And I think, there is a lawsuit that has been filed to try to state that from preempting this, there still is going to be some legal action in terms of whether or not what rights a county government has in relation to the state. But the first step is, let's say we're here as Orange County voters. Let's go and tell, do we want these protections for our county? That's the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm reading a comment that Adrian Katz made in the chat box that says, Florida is growing by thousands of new residents monthly and all will need water. This is critical, and it certainly is. I know that the League is on the list of supporting organizations, but does the League have a specific position on this greater than the charter question, but just on this situation overall?
Not
guess that's-
specifically on rights of nature. It is an item that is on our priority list. And it is an action item is to protect the waters of Orange County, period. You know, so yes, we do have a stated interest in protecting the fresh waters of Orange County. And Charter Amendment 1 is a great step in that direction.
Great, thank you. And I guess the only other question that was on this list is relative to other laws that are already in place, like the Clean Water Act. Why do we need this? Is it just to build on that, or is it does it take it in a different direction?
Well, you know, that's where I started. The Clean Water Act relies on the, you know, primarily on the federal government and then the state governments to enforce it. But there are limits. I mean, the Clean Water Act is a permit to pollute. That's what it is. It basically says you may not pollute unless you get a permit. And then what the Clean Water Act does is the primary mechanisms is that they issue permits to pollute. You know, that's what the primary purpose of the Clean Water Act is, to limit it, to try to maintain, you know, to stop too much pollution. But it doesn't, the way that it's been enacted, it's not to prohibit pollution completely. And that has not been effective. Plus, it only deals with what we call point source pollution. It doesn't deal with non-point source pollution. And so it really is, you know, was primarily focused on manufacturing, where we've made great gains, but we know that there's a lot of other factors like stormwater runoff, septic systems, fertilizer runoff, that can affect our lakes and waters. And so we're trying to make another step to see how to address those. Now, this doesn't address all of those, but it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it sounds like this is just the beginning of a long-term strategy and battle, I guess. Thank you,
exciting.
Everyone. Yeah, it is. I'm going to move on to the second charter question. I don't know why I'm having trouble changing. There we go. Okay, so Charter Amendment question number 2. Protecting split oak forest by restricting Board of County Commissioners Amendment of Restrictions and Covenants. Amending the charter by providing charter protections for split oak forest by restricting the Board of County Commissioners' ability to amend, modify, or revoke the current restrictions and covenants running with the land, which limit the use of split oak forest in whole or in part to conservation and the protection of its wildlife, vegetation, and environment as set forth in current agreements and restrictive covenants, and providing exceptions as provided by law. So let's see, next we have, I don't know why it won't turn, there we go. Vote yes if you believe that split oak forest wildlife and environmental area should be protected in perpetuity to protect endangered plants and animals from development and to provide citizens of Orange County protected natural forest lands within the county. Vote yes if you believe Orange County Commissioners should be prevented now and into the future from transferring control or ownership of split oak forest conservation lands. Vote yes if you believe future county commissioners should be limited in their ability to convert split oak forest to other uses. And vote yes if you believe in a system where precedents are used to justify policy. This amendment can be invoked to ensure protection for other conservation lands. So it seems like there's a lot there. Vote no if you believe Orange County Commissioners should be able to dispose of or change conservation lands to build roads and allow development through split oak forest. And you believe Orange County Commissioners are elected by voters and therefore will respond appropriately and accurately to the expressed desires of citizens. The supporting organizations are, of course, our Orange County League, and the opposing organization is Osceola County, which is interesting. Kay and Rachel are going to talk about this one. So let's start with you, Kay. What does this amendment mean? You know, it seems, I'm just a citizen, but it seems like these are sometimes written to be as difficult to read and as confusing as possible. So can you break it down for us?
Oh, gee, I'm probably just as confusing. Well, basically, I'm going to read this as I've written it. Orange County has a conservation agreement with Osceola County and the state of Florida that protects split oak forest. When this charter amendment is passed, it means that the Orange County Board of Commissioners will be prevented from amending this conservation agreement for the sake of building a toll road through split oak forest. This amendment would make a clear statement to the Orange County Board of Commissioners and to the agencies that oversee conservation lands in Tallahassee that the citizens of Orange County value our natural resources that were purchased with Florida Forever funds and want them protected as promised in perpetuity. And
Thank
that's
you.
what it means. It
Okay.
means that it will be protected, and the Orange County Commission can't say otherwise.
Let me ask a really basic question, just backing up a little bit. Orange County and Osceola County are involved in this because why? Like, why two counties, not just one?
Well, yeah, this is very, do you want to go ahead, Kay?
No, that was your question, Rachel.
So we've been working with the league on this since for 3 years now, I think, when it was first brought to the attention of the league. But this issue of whether, you know, the protection of conservation lands has been a priority of the league going way back. And there was an effort in 2013 to sell off so-called surplus conservation lands, because at the time Governor Scott didn't like the state owning too many lands, which was the opposite of the whole preservation effort for Florida conservation lands in Florida Forever, which every other administration agreed to. And the league took a definite stand at that time to say, no, you cannot sell these off. These are conservation lands. And there's a constitutional provision that says lands may not be disposed of as long as they have conservation value. So the league has pressed that constitutional argument. But then separately, Orange County, prior to the enactment of this particular constitutional amendment, entered into an agreement with Osceola County, an innovative agreement and an innovative situation where they wanted to take a whole section of land that crossed the boundaries of the two counties, purchase it together using some state funds and some taxpayer funds from each county, and designate it as Florida Forever land. And they agreed to do that in 1994. And they said, yes, we've looked at our planning, we've looked at our comprehensive plans, this is all consistent, and we agree to maintain this land for conservation land in perpetuity. Well, fast forward to, you know, a few years ago, and development starts out by Lake Nona, and they want to continue it around, but there's this big piece of land in between, and there's a desire to build a road. Where's the cheapest place to build a road? Through conservation land. So there's this provision in law that talks about the ability to allow so-called linear facilities if the people owning the land agree to it. But in this case, Osceola can't do anything, even though they own the land where the road would go through, without Orange County's approval, because they collectively agreed to these easements over this property. So I don't know if that's if that gives you enough of a background, but that's where it was. What happens fast forward is this was jammed through last December through both Central Florida Expressway board meeting, Orange and Osceola within 3 days with less than a week's notice on these, voting on these amendments. There were some other public meetings before that, but they weren't given a lot of notice. And people overwhelmingly came out against it, and yet the county commissioners voted for it. This is to make them adhere, Orange County commissioners, to adhere to the promises they made in 1994. They shouldn't even be asking the Florida Communities Trust, the state agency involved, for permission to do this. And if they didn't get Orange County's permission, the road can't go through.
And that is because Split Oak is owned partly by Orange and partly by Osceola counties. So we have to work together on that.
We have to work together. The agreement that put these conservation lands, put this land under conservation is a collective agreement between the two counties, which at the time they said this is a groundbreaking, innovative thing to do to really protect resources for the long run. So now we've got really high quality conservation land out there. And it's like, well, yeah, but you know, it's not so important anymore. Well, it takes a long time to build high quality conservation land. And the whole point of Florida Forever is to have these things in perpetuity to protect the development of those long-term high quality conservation lands.
I think that Susan's question there was, why is Osceola objecting?
So they're objecting because they want the road to go through, because that is part of their development land, and they seem to, you know, that they're more influenced by the people who want to develop the property around them. They stand to gain the most by the development that would be result from the road.
The most tax dollars.
The most tax dollars, and you know, but it's building a new extended community that is not affordable housing, which seems like what Osceola may want to focus on, but that, you know, I'm not an Osceola County resident, but it's building more, you know, mid-level homes that need large roadway service.
Sure.
Instead of alternative transportation or things. But, you know, that's the way that the development plan, even though they committed back in 1994 not to do this, saying, no, this is going to, you know, this is going to, we want to keep this out there to preserve our heritage, to preserve our conservation. Now they're saying, well, you know, we've got to look at where people want to live, and people are moving to Florida. So somebody's offered to build a bunch of houses over here and some trade-offs that will be better for everybody.
A question that's not on the list, but it just occurs to me, Rachel or Kay. Part of what I think is important about this is that it provides the protections in perpetuity. However, the verbiage of the amendment, which I have put back on the screen, does not say in perpetuity. Is that just implied? Is it really in perpetuity? What's the
well, it's the part of the constitutional amendment that was passed in 1998 that said that you cannot get rid of or transfer ownership of conservation lands at all unless, under certain circumstances, the Department of Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission deems that these conservation lands are no longer viable conservation lands. That's the only way you can get rid of them. Okay. And in 2017, the FWCC did a report on, as they do every 10 years, so they just did this 3 years ago, and said that 100% of Split Oak Forest continues to be viable conservation land, and none of it should be considered for to get rid of it.
Disposal.
To dispose of it. 100% of it needed to be. So this particular amendment doesn't use the word perpetuity, but it is definitely within the laws.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. And another question about Florida Forever lands. You were saying that, and I know this is getting off the subject just a little bit, but you were saying that the previous governor was trying to get rid of some of the Florida Forever lands. Where do we stand with that? Is the amount of Florida Forever lands static or growing or shrinking?
We haven't really looked into it. This is one where it came, this is a second situation where we were aware of it coming as a direct possibility. There probably have been, and we've had some reports from some other counties, like somebody has done some work down in Broward County, that the amount of Florida Forever lands has shrunk down there.
But on the other hand, up in the armpit, of Florida, south of Tallahassee, along the Gulf Coast, down towards Port St. John and all that area, they have just acquired a large tract of land up there to save, and that's a Florida Forever purchase. They have done that recently.
They have added some, but ever since Governor Scott came in, he has made a direct effort to reduce it. And, and the voters said no in 2014. They said, no, we want to continue to support the acquisition of conservation lands by approving the amendment back then, which the League of Women Voters, both in the county and the state, very significantly supported. And those monies have not been used to acquire land as much as it should, but at the same time, there might be some additional acquisitions. I don't think that a thorough inventory has been done about how much it might be shrinking. But the main thing is that the concern here is that there is this provision that talks about the ability to put roads through linear facilities through these conservation lands. Like, nobody thought of a highway when they thought about that, when that was done probably, although it's not explicit because that destroys the value. But the point is that you look at the MCOR roads that have been proposed, that could greatly expand the loss of conservation lands without an official transfer, because they're doing it through an underhanded way to try to get around the constitutional amendment. But they said, I think there were a couple of questions here, and it said, can you explain why the Orange County Board of Commissioners would agree in the first place? The best analysis I can give you is that they said it was for the overall best solution for the area, because we need some kind of road out there. And there's the exchange that's out there for an additional, there's a proposal to get some extra 1,500 acres of additional conservation land that are being exchanged for this portion of Orange County. So there was an exchange that was proposed. However, from the league's perspective, these exchanges are exactly why the constitutional amendment was put in the first place, because you're going to develop these lands and then you're going to always have a reason to exchange it down the road. And then you lose that conservation value. So they just need to go back to the drawing board, and there are ways to look at going around split oak forest. As somebody said, it's just more expensive.
And in my opinion, Orange County does not need to be making a donation to the CFX to build a road to go to Osceola County through our portion of split oak forest. Because if that road goes through, the essence of split oak forest, the quiet, the pristine nature of split oak forest will be ruined, because there will be no more silence. There will be no more darkness. It will be ruined by even the proximity of a toll road going through the forest.
And at this point, the other thing that's really, I think, really important about this one, why it's important now, is that CFX has delayed construction for 10 years on this. So there's no reason to pursue the application to get permission now. Let's see what it looks like. Let's revisit it. And citizens have definitely come out against this. And with a delay in the road, it just doesn't make sense at this point in time.
Right, better to put this in place now.
So that is something that I think is, from my natural resources position, in my opinion, the thing that is most exciting about this is the opportunity to set a precedent in Orange County by Orange County citizens that says that we do not want these conservation lands, and to say it in a majority way, not just people who go to a meeting, but say it to the whole county. The whole county says we don't want these conservation lands to be violated, and let the state witness that, and then take that precedent and apply it to the MCOR roads. I think that is what is the largest issue of Charter Amendment question number 2, is setting precedent.
Yeah, I agree about the precedent. Can you clarify for everyone what MCOR roads are, please, Kay?
They're extensions of the turnpike or other interstate roads that cut through to the West Coast. They're roads like that go from I-75 over to 19, going across the Withlacoochee. You know, that's going to go through that area. And then there's another one that goes from, I don't know if it's Marion County, it goes over to Newport Richey. And then there's one that goes to the south. There are 3 MCOR roads that go through what is already rural land. Some of it is protected conservation land. And nobody who lives in those areas wants these roads. and for some reason, they seem to have taken on priority over everything else with the state budget.
That nicely segues to the most recent question we have. Does this send a message to the developers?
Well, I think it's, the developers, they're in business for development. What I think it should send a message to developers to say, look at ways to go around lands, but it also should definitely send a message to our elected officials to say, this is an important issue to your voters. Stop undermining it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing is that the developers already own this land in huge, massive quantities. They're going to make so much money that a little bit of diversion of road building, if they want it, they should buy it. They should not expect a donation from Orange County to be able to accomplish their development goals.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. One last question.
I was just going to say, Orange County, the League of Women Voters of Orange County strongly is in favor of Amendment 2.
Yeah. Well, Gloria,
if there's any question about that.
Yeah. Gloria Picard has gone to several meetings on very short notice and given strong support for protecting split oak, and so this would be also a tribute to her to vote yes on this one.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Kay. That was really an informative conversation. So let's move along to our third. Wait, I figured it out. I have to close my comments box before I can turn the page. There we go. Question 3, County Amendment question 3. Suspending time for, and this is on an entirely different, the first 2 have had a strong environmental slant. This is an entirely different topic. So everybody just adjust your brains a little bit. Suspending time for gathering petition signatures during mandatory reviews and setting deadline for 1% notification. Shall the charter be amended by suspending the 180-day time period for gathering signatures during mandatory reviews and procedures specified under Section 602E of the Charter, and setting a 10-day deadline for the Supervisor of Elections to provide the 1% notification to the County Commission, the Controller, and Legal Review Panel under Section 602E1 of the Charter? Wow. That is kind of confusing. Vote yes if you believe citizens should have the right to place an issue on the ballot if the Board of County Commissioners or the Charter Review Commission don't. Vote yes if you feel that a realistic and practical option for putting a citizen-initiated question on the countywide ballot is necessary. Vote yes if you agree that the 180-day period for gathering signatures is short and difficult to accomplish. Vote yes if you think that when signatures or language are being reviewed, that time should not count against the time allotted to gather signatures. And then vote no if you think that citizen-initiated petition ballot questions can be frivolous, and further believe that the process should be challenging to have such questions placed on the ballot. Vote no if you prefer that Orange County Charter be amended only by the Charter Review Commission, which meets every 4 years, or by the Orange County Board of County Commissioners. Or vote no if you think that citizen-initiated petitions to put questions on the countywide ballot do not reflect the desires or opinions of most Orange County citizens. Supporting organizations are the League, and opposing organizations are none known at this time. So, Angela, I'm coming back to you to to translate for us. What does this amendment mean?
Okay. The main point of this amendment is there is 180 days currently you are given to collect signatures from the very start of the process, which is forming a PAC and then getting your topic approved, to the final turning in the 10% of registered voters in each district of the county. 180 days for that. And it is currently start to finish 180 days. So if you started January 1st, you got you a PAC on January 1st, you have to complete this process by June 29th. And the amendment, the charter amendment that actually was voted on in 2016 introduced new hurdles. There is this 1% notification, which after 1% of the 10% signatures are gathered, it goes to the Supervisor of Elections to be certified that those are true and valid signatures. Then the process goes to a legal review and a financial review at the Comptroller's office. There is no set deadline for how long those two reviews can take. They can take a day, they can take 6 months. So you cannot do any collecting of signatures until those two items are done. So you have effectively stopped collecting signatures until things that are outside of your control are done. And what this amendment does is anytime there's one of these hurdles, the clock stops. So your 180 days, you actually have 180 days to collect signatures. The entire process can take as long as it takes, because right now this clock stops at 180 days. You can't move forward. So this means the 180 day signature collection, you have a full 180 days. That's the main crux of it.
I see. We have a question here in the chat from Barbara. Do we know who is behind this initiative?
Actually, it was brought forth to the commission by one of the members of the Charter Review. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. He actually ran for office in one of the county. He actually ran for county commissioner, Santiago. But he was one of the members, and he wanted to bring this forth because he felt, he's an activist, and he felt that the 2016 amendment made it almost impossible for any citizen-initiated thing to get on the ballot because of the hurdles. And one thing somebody had said earlier in the chat is, you know, why do they make these summaries or these ballot things so confusing? And part of the reason is because there is a very limited amount of space. You can only have 75 words in your summary. So in 2016, the ballot amendment did not mention anything. It was all about improving the process of citizen-initiated ballot amendments. But it didn't say anything about 180 days that you know, time kept passing even though you weren't being able to do anything. It left a lot out. It did talk about that it had to have the legal review and a financial statement. It said that all of the districts had to have 10% instead of, they had a varied of 7 to 10% of the registered voters on signatures. So it changed a lot, but I think that there were some unintended consequences. And one of them was that if you only have out of your 180 days, you know, less than 100 days, no citizen-backed initiative is going to make it. And Victor Santiago actually went through costing it out, how much it would cost to pay people to get the signatures, and you know how time-consuming a process it is. And there was no way. It's very hard to do it in 180 days, but less than that was virtually impossible.
Right.
So it's trying to correct something that that was an unintended consequence from 4 years ago.
Right. They were kind of like invisible barriers.
Right. Right. And I just saw the thing about the 1%. Okay. So once the signatures are gathered and say you've got 100,000 people and you need to get whatever 10% of that is to get your signatures. Well, once you get 1% of those signatures, you take that to the supervisor of elections. And currently the amendment says the supervisor of elections has 20 days to verify those signatures. This is changing that from a 20-day deadline to a 10-day deadline. And actually, we did speak to Bill Cowles, who is our supervisor of elections, and he felt that that was a very doable time frame. And so that is one reason why that is included. Again, it just helps speed up the process, because from that 10-day deadline, then it goes to those other review periods, the comptroller and the legal review. And there is not a time frame given for those. They take as long as they need to take.
So would those 10 days or currently 20 days be taken out of the time, the 180 days that you get to have to get signatures?
Correct. So it automatically would take that 180 days down to 160.
Wow.
So you've lost time, because part of the 2016 amendment also stated that once you get that first set of signatures, and then this review comes through from the comptroller, the new petition that you have has to include that financial impact, how much the comptroller believes it's going to cost to implement the amendment. And you cannot get any signatures moving forward without that. That's why the signature taking stops, because you can't take an old petition and then just map it onto a new one that has that financial statement. You've got to get a brand new signature.
I see. How is this different from the state constitutional amendment 4 on the ballot about changing the state constitution and impact for citizen initiatives?
Well, the state of, Rachel, do you want to talk to that? Do you know more about that, how that might be different? I know that ours is, you know, this is just changing something very specific to us, not to the whole state.
Yeah, the state amendment, there is another amendment on the state ballot, and I forget whether it is 3 or 4.
I think it's 4.
It's 4. That's another attempt to restrict citizen initiatives. I mean, and the way that one works would be that for a state, for a provision to be put to voters for a change in our state constitution, you need to get it voted on twice in order to pass it. I mean, it's just clearly, you know, attempts it. It's supported by the Chamber of Commerce businesses. It is not supported by citizen groups at all. Mm-hmm. And so it's just to try to avoid citizen sponsored initiatives to the Constitution. This just relates to our county charter and the process by which you can get something onto it through citizen initiative. So you would vote against Amendment 4 if you support citizen initiatives changes to constitutions and charters, and you would vote for question 3 if you support it.
I hope everybody's writing this down because it's hard to remember it all.
Yeah.
We have one more question in the chat box, and I think this will pretty much wrap us up. Just procedurally, do signatures have to be collected in person, or can they be done by email? Can an email go out asking for signatures?
They have to be done in person, and we're actually looking into, for another project that we're working on in the clinic, looking into the possibility of getting e-signatures or trying to figure out how to do that, because if you can do real estate documents and all sorts of contracts by e-signature, why shouldn't you be able to get petitions?
Right.
I mean, you know, but the way that we're looking into the laws of that, but right now it's very much set forth to make it hard to do. It's another one of those barriers.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, another question just came up. It's maybe a comment. It's actually summarized on our League of Women Voters Orange County site. So there is written information about all of the amendments and these CRC questions at the moment for any visitor on our site. Thank you for pointing that out, Anne. Time is just about up. I want to thank our panelists from the bottom of our collective hearts. Appreciate your knowledge and your time today, but also your time that has gone into making you so well informed and important to the process. I think we have some closing comments, Barbara, and then we'll see you again in a month.
Yes, I have been asked to pass along the reminders of any upcoming events. So on October 14th at 6 p.m., there will be a Zoom from the Peace and Justice Institute at Valencia College, Votes for All, the Power to Create a More Perfect Democracy. So you can mark your calendar for that. There's also the Ocoee Massacre exhibit. Yesterday, this was home, the Ocoee Massacre of 1920. Saturday, October 3rd through Sunday, February 14th at the Orange County Regional History Museum. So you still have time to do that. There will be a GOTV, Get Out the Vote, and Amendments Caravan on both October 18th and 24th. And the texting campaign will be held on October 19th and 29th. So still plenty of opportunities for everyone to get involved and help get out the vote. So with that, Sue, thank you for moderating today so ably. And I think we wish a good afternoon to everyone here, and we will see you next month.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.